Hi, hello, welcome back to the channel. Today I have another review for you, and it is Cytonic, the third full novel in the Cytoverse Skyward series by Brandon Sanderson. My review for this one is going to be spoiler free of events and kind of big happenings in Cytonic, but while discussing Cytonic, there's absolutely no way to even talk about the basics of the plot without spoiling things from earlier books. So if you have not read Skyward, Starsight, and really the two Skyward novellas that come before this book, which are Redawn and Sunreach, then I'm not going to tell you not to watch this video. You can watch this video if you're happy with having some minor and major plot elements spoiled. But if you're like me and you're pretty spoiler averse, what you're probably going to do is pop this one in the watch later, but make sure you like it and leave a comment to tell me that you're watching this later. So, Cytonic. How did I feel about this? In the weekly wrap-up for last week, I talked about how I was reading this quite slowly. There were two reasons for that. Number one was that I was way ahead of schedule. So I was planning to finish Cytonic at the end of this week. So for posterity's reference, I'm recording this on the 13th, but it's going to release on the 15th. So I expected to finish this on the 17th. Then I would have the weekend to read Evershore. I was advised by I think it was Trevor in the comments to stop reading the book at the epilogue and read Evershore and then come back and read the epilogue, because some of the parts of the epilogue to Cytonic spoil plot developments in Evershore. However, I completely forgot about that until I had finished reading it. So I did read the epilogue and I haven't read Evershore yet. I've literally just finished this book. We're talking, I closed the book and put the camera on the tripod, and it is literally that quick. So what did I think of this book? As I said, my two reasons for it were that I was way ahead of schedule. So I thought, why not chill out and enjoy some other hobbies and stuff? So that's why I had a look at some web serials, and I'm going to be making that a recurring series now. And I also read a comic series to do another comic book recommendation for you guys. And this one is for fantasy readers. So we've had a very sci-fi heavy month this month, but it's going to be a fantasy book that I'm going to be recommending. And I'm actually going to be recording that video straight after this one. I wanted to get Cytonic done. I'll be recording that one straight after this, but that one will come earlier. So if you want to see me get tireder and tireder, but or more awake as the days go on, then please do subscribe and keep watching the channel. So I was way ahead of schedule. Also, I was finding Cytonic to feel very much like a diversion. It almost felt like padding for the series. I talked a little bit about how in Sunreach, Sunreach felt like what would have been a B or C plot in a multiple POV series. Now, Cytonic is basically the same. I feel like if this had been a multi-POV series where we had your 400-500 page books with multiple characters' point of view, so chapter from Jurgen's point of view, chapter from Jorgen's point of view, chapter from FM's point of view, chapter from Alanik's point of view, then we would have this book from this book's Spencer's POV while trapped in the nowhere would have been a really interesting B plot, or maybe even the A plot, when you could weave around it some other activities, other points of view, and other characters to give you a bit of a break. One of the things that you get when you read Starsight, for example, Starsight is all set in another place, so you don't get the characters that you love from the first book. And Cytonic is exactly the same. Cytonic is set in another place. But in Starsight, we meet lots of interesting characters. I tell you, we meet lots of interesting. We meet a small number of really interesting characters that we spend a lot of time with, and also there's the two aspects to the story, which is that Spencer kind of learning and growing and changing and developing understanding and a connection with the people of the superiority. And then there's the other side of the story, which is kind of her undercover and spying and trying to kind of learn as much as she can. So Starsight really works really well because it has multiple story threads that all work together. I felt like Cytonic is very much you're in the nowhere, you're trying to figure out what's going on with the nowhere, you're trying to and that's, I was about to say you're trying to do something else, but I feel like you really aren't. I feel like the whole book is like, what's going on with the nowhere? Why are there people here? Who is this character that you meet? Chet, Starfighter, I think his name was. And like, it's just, because it all felt very much this one thing, it felt a bit like a diversion, it felt like a B plot. I didn't enjoy this as much as the other Skyward books, and I can see why other people don't like this as much. I really enjoyed a lot of aspects of it. I really liked the character of Chet. I really liked Peg and the pirates, although, and the two pirates made of living crystal were really interesting. I liked the whole. I liked the pirate story. I thought the pirate story was really good, and it almost felt like the pirate story had kind of, I don't know, it kind of feels in some ways like it came from like another book or somewhere else and was kind of transplanted in. It's very interesting though, spending this time in the nowhere. You can really see how this book was originally planned to be a Cosmere novel, a series of Cosmere novels. I think that the Nowhere was originally Shadesmar. I think that that a lot of the story elements, like AIs and whatnot, may have originally been Spren, for example. I think there's a lot going on in this book. And like I was saying, I think this would have been a really interesting Cosmere novel, and I think that the problem with this being a Cosmere novel was because it deals so much with intermingling races, deals so much with intergalactic travel. I think it would have made the Cosmere feel too small too quickly. Now we're getting to the stage where the Cosmere is starting to feel small, because all the significant characters are meeting each other, and that is what often makes a fictional universe feel small. But the Cosmere doesn't really. The Cosmere, is a very mature series of books. We're like 14 books in or whatever. And I don't know if at the time when Skyward was coming out or being planned, and maybe even I think Brandon planned it and then shelved it, I think that maybe Skyward would not have been the right direction for the Cosmere. But that's kind of a bit of a diversion, really. Cytonic. I think that the expansions to the lore are really good. I think the connection to the Defending Elysium story is really strong. People tell you, you need to have read Defending Elysium. I feel like you could absolutely not read Defending Elysium and have no issues. Brandon does the same thing that Marvel does in their movies, where he kind of he will tell you through, dialogue and knowledgeable and experienced characters talking to less knowledgeable and experienced characters and explaining the history that you may not have read. Obviously, you can't. I say obviously, you can't go in and read Cytonic without having read the other books. Although actually, possibly Cytonic might be the one you could do that because it's so separate. But I think that the big problem that I have with Cytonic is that it's so separate, is that it feels like a side quest or a diversion. It all kind of comes together in the end, and it gives you this kind of outcome that sets us up for the finale of the series. And this is because the Evershore which is the next novella that I haven't read yet. I'll be starting that one tomorrow now because it's almost midnight. Evershore, that one leads into the epilogue of Cytonic. So that last epilogue, that last chapter, is the last thing that has been released, the most chronologically recent piece of story in the Cytoverse. So that really is leading straight into Defiant, which is out next week. I've got my pre-order in. I decided not to rely on library systems and stuff. I'm just going to pre-order it and buy the book. So very interesting. It's a really interesting book, and it's a hard one to discuss, I think, because I did enjoy it. There's no point in this book where I was bored. It's fun, it's breezy, it's a very quick read. I often notice that I might be on page 300 and then look up 10-15 minutes later and I'm on like page 340. It's a really quick read. Even though it's a 400-page book, the audiobook's only like 13-14 hours, I think. I did listen to this one again. I listened to a lot of this on audio. There were a few chapters with this one where I noticed that I had not paid as good attention as I wanted to. So there's actually quite a big revelation with the character of Chet. And this is very obvious. I say it's very obvious. It's not obvious what the revelation is, but it's obvious that there's going to be something. And I actually missed it in the audiobook. So I was doing... I was cleaning my kitchen, and I have started listening to the Skyward audiobooks while I do that. But while I was cleaning, I got distracted by something, and I also was completely distracted from listening to the audiobook. So I didn't manage... I missed that. I missed like a couple of lines of fairly important conversation. And luckily, I realised that I hadn't been paying 100% attention, so I went back and reread those chapters physically. So I went back and reread those chapters, that one chapter physically. The audiobook's just as good as it always has been. All the new voices are really good. Sophie Aldred is great. I didn't hate the American narrator, but I was glad to go back to Sophie Aldred. I think she is she's not like leaps and bounds better, but she is definitely better. I think that her wide range of accents is more interesting. She's able to give characters a voice in a way that the American narrator doesn't. So the American narrator does do accents, but not as many as the English one, and also she does some very fun local English accents for different characters and races, and I do enjoy that. So yeah, what else to talk about with this one? The ending is good. I think it leaves us in a really interesting place for the final book. We've still got a lot of threats to humanity. We've got a few mysteries to solve. They talk a little bit in Cytonic about Earth and how it's been lost. So that I thought was quite interesting, and something that I'm looking forward to finding more about, if there is more of that in the final novel. I'm also really looking forward to reading Evershaw to find out how we get from Redawn to this epilogue chapter of Cytonic. So yeah, the Evershaw review. I'm going to start Evershaw tomorrow. The Evershaw review will be up. So there's actually not a slot for another review this week because I've been hammering it so well with these reviews. I think the Evershaw review will actually have to be next Monday. So that will be a week from when I record this, but not from when you watch this. So it will be the 20th. And then Defiant will be out on the 21st. I'm not planning to binge this one like I binged The Ice, where I read it in a single day, but I will probably try to read it pretty quickly. I'm going to be reading the physical combined with the audiobook version from my Audible membership. So yeah, really looking forward to reading this final chapter, although I do have like 5 hours of audiobook left to read. Because I bought the Skyward Flight books for audio, so going to be the audio and the Kindle version, because they're just impossible to get from the library system too. But I didn't particularly want to buy too many physical books because that's kind of something I don't really like doing. Anyway, long me talking about my booktube channel and book buying habits. Rant, discussion, tangent. If you have read Cytonic, let me know what you thought. I know that this one is kind of the least liked and the most kind of controversial of the Skyward books, and I think a lot of people have said, I loved Starsight, I loved Skyward, I liked Starsight, and I didn't like Cytonic. I still liked Cytonic. I think that this is an absolutely solid 3-star book. I don't think it's the worst thing I've read by Brandon Sanderson at all. I liked all the characters in it. I liked the story that he was telling. I just wanted to get back to the main plot. I wanted to get back to the real world. I wanted to get back to the other characters that we'd built these relationships with, and what Sanderson kind of does in this book is in Skyward he's like, these are all these amazing characters, these are all the relationships they have, these are all the complicated complicated relationships and the complicated connections between them all, and the thing that they're all bound together to do, which is to protect human society. And then he's like, and then see you, goodbye, we're not going to see those people for 3 books, 2 books, and like, you don't see Spencer with those people from the end of Skyward basically until, I don't even know if you see too much of it in the next book because it's not out yet. I think that there is something to be desired there. I think that it would have been nicer to have incorporated the characters throughout the series, and because you do really bond with them, you really like them. So, anyway, that's kind of my final thoughts on the Skyward series, kind of up to Cytonic. I think that when it comes to Skyward books, I'll be reading Evershaw tomorrow, as I said, and then I will probably try and get something in between Evershaw and Defiant, just to keep my reading habit going. And once I've read Defiant, the Defiant review will go up as soon as possible. I'll possibly skip schedule for that one, so if I'm able to finish it earlier, I'll post it earlier. So for people who are binging through Defiant, they'll be able to listen to my thoughts on it. And then after that, maybe I will do the thing that I've been threatening to do, which is do kind of a was it worth it to read this series video, based around the Skyward books. So if you would be interested in watching any of that content, then make sure to subscribe to the channel. If you like this video, give it a like. If you didn't like it, or if you've got some, if I made some mistakes, or if you've got some different opinions on Titanic that you'd like to discuss, and then please do so in the comments. I welcome all constructive criticism. It'd be lovely to have a chat with people in the comments about their thoughts on the book, especially as I know, because this one is kind of a little more controversial, or like some people don't like it very much. Finally, if you want to share this with a friend, then please do so. I'd love to, as I said, grow this little fun booktube community as big as we can get it, so we can have more fun conversations. I noticed on my Thursday video last week that there were a couple of people having conversations with each other in the comments. That's amazing. I absolutely love seeing that, and I did butt in and join in, so I hope that nobody hated that. Anyway, thank you so much for watching, and I will speak to you in the next one.